Menjaka. Welcome to the Cosy Project, part of the Climate Change and Environment Program, which is supported by Inspiring Victoria. My name is Kate Phillips and I'm a Senior Curator in the Science Department at Museums Victoria. To begin, I would like to acknowledge that I'm on the lands of the Bunwurrung and Woiwurrung people of the Eastern Kulin Nation and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to invite you to have a look at our website. You'll find a range of stories about how people are responding to climate change and becoming more sustainable. And you'll also find some upcoming events. These resources and events have been developed with our partners from Neighbourhood Houses Victoria and the Royal Society of Victoria. I'm really excited to be working in partnership with these organisations to share knowledge and have community discussions on how we can protect our environment and people into the future. The program is an example of how we here in Victoria are joining with people around the world to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts, as expressed in the Sustainable Development Goal 13. Climate change is a big problem that requires a transformation in many aspects of the way we do things. Certainly, it requires us to really radically transform our energy sector, how we use materials, how we grow food, and how we manage environments. A month ago, the Victorian government released a climate change strategy outlining a plan for this transformation in our part of the world. As you would expect, the plan covers many different aspects that governments influence or manage on our behalf, such as public transport, energy, waste, employment, agriculture. And it also includes higher energy efficiency standards for new homes and the development of renewable electricity generation to replace coal and gas-fired electricity. We need these large-scale solutions by government, as well as also tackling the problem at an individual and local level. In the workshops that we've been running with staff from the neighbourhood houses sector, we've been talking about what this actually looks like, and welcome to anyone from neighbourhood houses who has joined the talk today. There are many different ways that we can take action, and you can see that we've put some of them here. So yes, it's just a matter of thinking of the many varied ways that we can take action on climate change at both a personal and community level. Today, we are focusing on our homes and the ways that we can change them to make them more comfortable and less polluting. The fact that currently at least 20% of Australia's greenhouse gas is produced by households means that each of us can influence that to some extent. On average, Australians produce about 17 tonnes of carbon dioxide per person per year. And that is really high compared to just about any other country in the world. But there is a big variation, anything from 3 to 30 tonnes, depending on people's lifestyle, housing and transport. As is often the case, if you fix up one problem, which is making something unsustainable, you can often improve other aspects of life too. For example, by replacing gas as a home energy source with electricity from renewable sources, you can create homes that are healthier, produce fewer climate change emissions, and save money. Today, we won't be talking much about building new houses. We're focusing on your existing house and what you can do to improve it. However, I would like to mention a fabulous resource for information about sustainability for both new and existing homes, and that is the organisation Renew. Our speaker, John, works with Renew as an energy efficiency consultant. Renew membership gives you access to a great range of resources, such as magazines and books, and they have really fantastic information about the latest in sustainability for your home. They've recently put out a new resource called the Green Rebuild Toolkit for people rebuilding after bushfire. or people just aiming to make their homes more resilient in a range of situations. To guide us through the most effective ways to improve our homes and to make them warmer in winter, we have John Knox, a very experienced energy efficiency consultant, who's spoken to thousands of people across Australia on this subject. John has worked as an electronics design draftsperson, research assistant, and systems administrator before he retrained in renewable energy. In 2010, John made a bicycle tour of over 8,000 kilometres around Australia, presenting talks to community groups about energy efficiency in homes. John's driver for this has been concern about climate change. He continues to promote action on climate change via protest, advocacy, and community education. So welcome, John, over to you.
In 2008, I went back to school to study renewable energy, as I wanted to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I won an award for those studies, which proves two things. You can teach an old dog new tricks, and mature age students are overachievers. In 2010, I got on my bike and rode solo, towing a trailer, 8,500 kilometres around Australia, giving talks to communities on energy efficiency, which is still today the quickest way we can reduce our reliance on fossil fuel-based energy. In order to keep my energy stores up, my journey inevitably took me to many bakeries. If you're a cyclist, then you know that bakeries are part and parcel of your journey. Sorry for the middle-aged man in lycra visual. I now spend my time advocating for greater action on climate change and providing energy efficiency consults for the member-based organisation Renew, formerly known as the Alternative Technology Association. We changed our name because, as a previous CEO once said, we're no longer alternative. It's not all about technology, but we are still an association. Your actions can avoid waste and save you money at the same time. In the average Australian can avoid wasting up to 30% of their energy from efficiency measures alone. And in fact, Beyond Zero emissions have suggested that up to 56% savings are possible, though many of these may be deep green energy retrofits. I hope that after today's talk, you can identify a number of real actions you can take right now to make a difference and save yourself money along the way. First off, I think we need to know what energy is. Energy is power over time. So power use over a period of time. Its unit in the system international is the joule, and 1 joule is 1 watt for 1 second. So it's a small amount of energy. We normally refer to energy in terms of kilowatt hours on our electricity bills, or in terms of gas, it's normally megajoules. But there is a conversion between these two units. 1 kilowatt hour is equivalent to 3.6 megajoules, which is 1,000 watts times 60 minutes times 60 seconds. So that's how you get the 3.6 megajoules. One thing that might be of interest to you, fun fact, the adult recommended daily intake of energy is 8.7 megajoules. 1 litre of petrol contains 34.8 megajoules of energy, which is exactly 4 times the adult recommended daily intake. Something to consider when you're complaining about the cost of fuel, is that fuel is actually very, very cheap. Heating and cooling in your home accounts for over 30% of your home energy use. The most effective way to reduce your heating needs in your home. In my talks, I used to say to people, if you do 3 things to reduce your heating needs, it should be insulate, insulate, and insulate. Insulation is like a blanket over your home, and it helps to, like a blanket, it helps to keep the heat in the home. If your home has not got enough insulation in the ceiling, keep what insulation you have already in there. It still has benefit, and removing it is a very dirty job. Simply place the new over the top of the old. Don't cross thatch them. You might think that doing so would be a good thing, and efficiency wise it is to some extent, but by cross thatching them, it makes it almost impossible for the next person to get in, who gets inside the ceiling space, to know where the ceiling joists are, and could lead to injury to both the person and your ceiling. Also, if you're renovating and have cladding off, that's the perfect time to insulate your walls. While we're talking about insulation, I knew a guy who used to heat his home to 26 degrees in winter and cool it to 18 degrees in summer. He used to get around in shorts and t-shirt all year round. For every 1 degree C difference in temperature, it costs an extra 10% on your heating, cooling energy bills. Do yourself a favor. In winter, wear a jumper. If you can reduce the area you're heating and cooling, you're reducing the costs of heating and cooling as well, which is where we come to zoning your home. And here we have a plan of a home. This plan is out of the Your Home Technical Manual, which is available. It's a government resource. It's available at yourhome.gov.au. I'll just highlight something here. You've got your bedrooms here. You've got your garage, hallway, walk-in robe, bathroom, your kitchen, and laundry area. This is considered your living area. So if you were to put a doorway there and a doorway there, you could actually zone off your living area from your hallway area and make it so that your actual heating zone is reduced by almost half. That will almost reduce your heating needs by half. It also has a benefit in that it creates an entrance zone here, which is equivalent to an airlock, so that when you open the front door, you're only sacrificing possible heat from the hallway. Bedrooms, I would recommend that bedrooms are better off being unheated. The drop in temperature is a cue for your body to go to sleep, which is why we have so much trouble sleeping in summer. So I would heartily recommend that you don't heat your bedrooms as such. You're generally in your bedroom just for sleeping, so it doesn't need to be heated particularly. Curtains and pelmets. If you if you use heavyweight, full-length curtains, preferably with block-out fabric on the back, then you're helping to insulate your windows. Windows are a hole in your building fabric. By allowing light in, you're also allowing heat and heat both in and out of your home. So you need to insulate your windows as best you can. Pelmets are these boxes that sit over the top of your curtains, and the way they work is they break the airflow. What happens in winter is that hot air rises, hits the ceiling. Hot air rises, hits the ceiling, flows out to the wall. Walls are generally lesser insulated than ceilings, and the air will drop, cool and drop. And if you don't have a pelmet there, it drops between the curtain and the window and sheds all of its heat out the window. And if you put your hand underneath the curtain, you'll feel cold air coming down at quite a rate at the bottom of those curtains. That's without a pelmet. With a pelmet, that circulation current is broken. For renters, you can use rolled up towels to break that circulation current, or you can use core flute pelmets, which can be blue tacked to the wall. Core flute is that corrugated plastic board you see in placards used by real estate agents. And it's amazing what can be done with core flute and either blue tack or duct tape. Ceiling fans are great. In summer, it's obvious they're a fan. They help actually to increase the temperature at which you feel that you need to use air conditioning by 3 degrees. But in winter mode, that's when the air is drawn up towards the fan rather than the fan blowing the air down towards you. If you use it in low speed, it helps mix the air, because in winter, all of the hot air sits actually at the ceiling without a ceiling fan in operation. So all of the air sits up, hot air sits up here. You're actually sitting down below. And by having the fan on, you can actually mix all of the air in the room, and thereby reducing the need for constantly putting heat into the room to actually feel comfortable. Judicious use of ventilation. In winter, opening up your house for new air to come in is not necessarily necessary. Most air changes in your house just come through a leaky house. You open and close your front door. You come in and out of rooms. So generally speaking, the ventilation in order to keep your air quality reasonable is not that necessary, unless perhaps you have an unflued gas heater, or you're using an open fireplace. When replacing your heaters, use a high coefficient of performance value in reverse cycle air conditioners. Reverse cycle air conditioners, if you go to Tasmania or across to New Zealand, you'll hear them being called heat pumps. And that's exactly what they do. They take the heat from one place and shift it to another. And how they do this is by compressing a gas and shifting that gas from the outside unit into your header unit inside. And that header unit normally looks like this. You can get header units that are floor mounted. They make a lot of sense if you're in a predominantly heating climate, which is what we are in Melbourne and for the vast majority of Victoria. But they do take up floor space, so you can't put bookcases behind them. Furniture is a problem with them. These higher heads, they do work okay, but it really does help if you're using them in conjunction with a ceiling fan. Also, at the risk of being controversial, especially during a pandemic, the cheapest form of heating cooling that you can get is going to someone else's home. And that helps to build community as well. Draft proofing. Draft proofing, if you add together all the gaps in the average Australian home, you would have the equivalent of a 1 square metre hole in the wall. If you had a 1 square metre hole in the wall, would you fill it? I think so. If you've got an old cassette tape at home, or even if you don't, you can possibly pick one up from an op shop. Take out about 20 centimetres of the tape, and on a windy day, go around your doors, windows, and skirtings, and it will flutter like crazy in that breeze that's coming into your home. So you'll be able to identify where the biggest gaps are in your home. You can actually fill those biggest gaps first, and then once you've actually done that, you can go back and find, on another windy day, you can use that piece of tape to actually find where the next level of drafts are. There are many resources on the internet that you can use to discover how best to go about doing this. You have problems with exhaust fans in rooms. You can get devices called draft stoppers, which fit over the top of in the ceiling space. They fit over the top of your exhaust fans, and they've got a couple of plastic covers that when you turn the exhaust fan on, these plastic covers flip up due to the airflow and drop back down again when the fan is turned off, thereby helping to keep your heat in the home. If you've got an open fireplace, a chimney balloon can be used to block off the chimney. You can, if you've got an evaporative cooling unit, then the vents, the outlets in your rooms should be covered in winter. Otherwise, you're losing your heat up through those vents, through the ducting, and you'll find that your hot air is being vented very efficiently out through the evaporative cooling mesh on the roof of your home. Skylights are problematical. Skylights are difficult to insulate. You can get double glazed skylights, but double glazed skylights are still a place where you can actually lose quite a lot of heat. So I would highly recommend against having skylights. Wall vents, unless, as I was saying previously, you've got an open fireplace or an unflued gas heater, you don't need the wall vents in your home, so they can be blocked up. In the kitchen, combustion gases get drawn out by the exhaust fan, which is why you should be using exhaust fans when you're cooking especially when you're cooking with gas. Gas is no longer the good flame. Your hardware store has walls of draft proofing kit. Don't skimp on the quality though. You only want to do this really once. My personal preference is for a brand called Raven Products from out of South Australia. They're a good quality product. And if you do your draft proofing right, do it once, and hopefully you won't have to do it again for many, many years. On your doorways, you can use door snakes. These days you can actually get door snakes that are double-sided. So they've got a door snake on either side with a piece of fabric that joins it. You slide it under the door. That way, as you open and close the door, the snakes go with them. And that avoids having to continually replace the snake to avoid that draft under the door. For underfloor insulation, I would recommend if you've got floorboards, I would recommend a brand called Kingspan. They have Aircell Permifloor, which is a narrow foam which has got a silver back on it. That silver back needs to be facing up towards your floorboards, and that has the Permifloor has slight slits in it to allow vapor to get through. Your floorboards still need to breathe, so Aircell Permifloor is what I would recommend for that. You could also use polyester insulation bats, but they're more difficult to fix between the floor joists. The Kingspan Aircell Permifloor, it's wide enough to fit between the floor joists, here, and you just staple it onto the side of the floor joists on either side and have it just sitting there. Be aware though that you've got to avoid stapling through electrical cables. That can be really nasty. But it's not all of these draft proofing jobs are really not that difficult to do. There's a resource that I'll be getting to at the end of that I'll show at the end of the slideshow. The woman that runs the site, Green It Yourself, she did a lot of the videos while very heavily pregnant. My vision for the future. Part of what drove me to go around Australia was that here in Australia, we've got massive renewable energy resources, absolutely amazing renewable energy resources. In 2005, an organization called Desertec.org, so that's deserteuropeancommunity.org, had a plan to put concentrated solar thermal power stations in the Sahara Desert, and that's in the Middle East and Northern Africa areas. They had wind farms, solar farms, concentrated solar thermal power stations. They had the plan to put them in the desert. They worked out that in 2005, an area of land 300 kilometers by 300 kilometers, that's 90,000 square kilometers, still quite an area of land, I've got to say, but that's what 300 kilometers by 300 kilometers looks like, that orange area that I'm showing in the Northern Territory. That, if it was covered in concentrated solar thermal power stations with power plants with storage, would have been able to provide all the electricity needs of the world in 2005. Now, I don't know if some of you may have heard of the Sun Cable project. Mike Cannon-Brooks, who was instrumental in getting South Australia their big battery, is invested in the ambitious Sun Cable project, which involves a plan to build the world's largest solar farm. The farm would have a 10 gigawatt capacity and covering 15,000 hectares near Tennant Creek, which is about here where these highways join in the Northern Territory, and a 22 gigawatt hour storage plant. And his intention is to export the vast majority of that energy into Southeast Asia. Now, I think that that's much better than digging up coal once and exporting it once out through the Great Barrier Reef, say. If we were to have an undersea electricity cable that leads into Southeast Asia, and rather than digging up coal once, we can produce renewable energy every day. Beyond zero emissions, while I was riding around Australia, I had to change my presentation. They had a plan to move Australia from fossil fuels to 100% renewable energy in 10 years. But I had to change my presentations because I had to change it from BZE's plan to BZE's award-winning plan, because while I was away, they won an award, which Malcolm Turnbull actually presented them with. And this is perhaps one of the best cartoons I've ever seen as far as climate change is concerned. What if it's a big hoax and we create a better world for nothing? These are all of the brilliant things that we can get from moving to renewable energy, and it'll solve the climate crisis. Even if you don't believe in climate, these are things that we really need to strive for. These are the resources I was talking about: greenityourself.com.au, Sustainability Victoria. So if you go to the sustainability.vic.gov.au and search for draft proofing, you can get information on draft proofing. There's a Facebook group. I'm no longer on Facebook because it became quite toxic last year. But if you go to the My Efficient Electric Home Facebook group, you'll find some amazing resources. That's an Australian group. Beyond Zero Emissions, bze.org.au. You'll be able to see their download resources from them. Desertec.org, I was speaking about before. Solar Victoria have rebates. If you go to their site, you can learn about their rebates. A lot of their rebates, though, are either or, so you get one bite of the cherry. Their biggest rebate is on a battery. You need to have at least 5 kilowatts of solar on your roof in order to qualify for that rebate. You can get a rebate for putting solar on your roof. You can get a rebate, $3,000 rebate, which is just recent, for buying an electric car. And you can also get a rebate for a heat pump hot water service. Renew.org we've already talked about, or Kate was talking about. I consult with Renew, do energy efficiency consults for them. And Your Home is, if you're building a new home, I would heartily recommend going to the yourhome.gov.au site. They have, apart from downloadable plans, they've also got a lot of resources on what to look for when building a home. And with that, I'll finish off. Questions, please.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, John. That was fascinating. I'm going to go and find myself a double-sided door snake immediately. But you've given us so many really useful tips for creating warmer, more efficient homes. And we do have a question here. Our question from Michael. Hello, Michael. If windows are recessed and have roll-down blinds inside the recess, are pelmets needed also? Wouldn't the heat flow down on the room side of the blinds?
Yes, you're quite right there. That actually works quite well. And in fact, in better than roll-down blinds, you can actually get honeycomb blinds, which have that they've got expanding cells in them that help to trap the air, and air is a good insulator.
Yep, fantastic. So that's another option instead of curtains,
Yep.
And having that design feature of having a recess in the window gets around the airflow.
Provided, of course, that you have something that stops the heat from getting out, so that you do need to have something in that gap. So if you've got your roller blinds up, or you don't have a roller blind, then just having the window recessed won't do the job. So if you've got a curtain there with the window in by 3 inches or something, that's not good enough to prevent the heat from getting out. Sorry, I'm being confusing, aren't I? Yeah, you need something to block that air movement.
Great. Okay. And we have a really interesting question here from Aileen. What can be done for renters who are at the mercy of their landlords?
Well, as I say, with your actual windows, the blocking that airflow out is blocking the airflow down can be done just using a towel over the window. That's part of draft proofing. Draft proofing itself is cheap. It's small dollars. It takes time, but it's small dollars, so it's worthwhile doing, even if you're renting. It will actually help reduce that 1 meter square hole that you've got in your wall, and make your living space a whole lot more comfortable, and reduce your energy bills by a dramatic amount. You'll get back what you've spent on product from your local hardware store. You'll get back inside one winter what you spend. So it's not a big impost as far as cost is concerned, and I'd heartily recommend doing those draft proofing methods. As far as your rental situation is concerned, some of the rebates are available to landlords for putting solar on the roof. And as far as your hot water service and that sort of thing is concerned, your actual landlord will be able to claim the rebate on the heat pump as well. I've been up at my local shopping centre, and there was the case of a group there that was actually giving away heat pump hot water services by just taking the rebate that the state government is offering. So it's a no cost as far as the landlord is concerned. So I'd get in contact with your landlord, see whether they're willing to put solar on, see whether they're willing to replace your hot water service with a heat pump hot water service, because hot water is actually the next biggest user of electricity or user of energy in your home.
Great. We've got a couple more questions about windows. Katia asks, is it worth these efficiency measures if windows are such a big sink for warmth? We have big windows and French windows, and I understand double glazing is expensive. Any thoughts?
Double glazing is expensive. However, you can retrofit double glazing. There are a number of different ways of going about doing what's called secondary glazing. You can get clear films that you can attach onto the inside of your windows to perform a similar sort of thing to double glazing. It's not quite as good as. You can actually get magnetically stuck on perspex that you can put onto these as well. The way that double glazing works is by creating an area of still air between two panes of glass, and with the secondary glazing, you're creating that still air, and still air is a good insulator.
Great. Okay. That I think answers. There was another question from Anne about adding, I think, a layer of plastic, a layer of, so that's what you mentioned. You can add that.
Yeah. There's for your renters as well, in your bathroom where you've got a frosted window, you can get some bubble wrap and tape that to the inside of the window.
I love that idea.
That's a really cheap solution there.
Yeah. So for a small window that's frosted anyway, you just pop a layer of bubble wrap. That's a great solution. Yeah. Strategically making the bathroom a bit warmer sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. We've got another one here about vents. Kylie says, I'm in a 1960s built house and it has pelmets and door snakes, but a vent through every wall and hardwood floors with plenty of space under the house. Do I need to leave the vents?
If you don't have, if your heating is electric heating, or if your heating is electric heating and you, then I would recommend blocking up those vents. There's the specific need for having those vents was for when we had gas heating, and you had gas combustion products in the room as a result. You needed to change the air as a result of that. But those vents are up at the top of the room, which is where all your hot air is, and so you're actually losing a lot of heat out through those vents. Yeah.
Right. Katia asks, she says she's someone who doesn't like hot air blowing and prefers radiant heat. Is there any that are good in terms of efficiency? We were thinking that if it was powered by solar electricity, we could use electric panel heaters or electric oil heaters and keep them on low in our home over winter. Would that be a good heating method?
It can be. If you're driving it from your solar, then yes, that would be an option. Another possibility to use is far infrared heaters, because they tend to heat up the body rather than heating up the air.
Yes, so I mean, some of it is about, I guess, the preference for how the heaters make you feel, and that difference between the radiant heat versus the sort of air moving heat. I guess, I don't know what the infrared ones sort of feel like.
The far infrared, what it does is it emits far infrared radiation rather than being a radiator that just gets hot. It emits far infrared radiation, which when it strikes your body, heats up your body rather than heating up the air around you. Because air, as I said before, is an insulator. It takes a lot of energy to heat up the air. What you're actually trying to do is heat up yourself. So a far infrared heater will do that in a better way.
Great, thank you.
Those floor-mounted registers for the reverse cycle air conditioners, they're very similar to the radiators that you have for hydronic heating. The fans are very, very low speed, and so that's an option as well.
Great. And another quick question is, where do you find the perspex with the magnetic attachment? Where would you go to find something like that?
The place that I know of that does that, it's I think it's called Magnatec. So I'd probably do a search on the internet for Magnatec.
Right. Thank you.
But as far as the film that you use for double secondary glazing, there's a video of that being applied on the Green It Yourself website.
If people would like a list of those websites that you mentioned, I have that in a Word document, and everyone will receive a survey at the end of this session. And there's an option there if you'd like to receive a checklist and those resources, I can send them to you. So people, if you fill in the questionnaire, we'll email you the list of resources. I think we're almost done in the questions. I think there is one more here about the heaters. Do you know which is better, electric panel heaters or electric oil heaters?
Panel heaters or electric oil heaters? They're probably much of a muchness. The oil is just a medium by which it allows the heat to be spread on the heater itself. The oil heater probably has a greater surface area, so the heat can convect into the room without requiring a fan. So I'd probably go for the oil heater, but it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. With oil heaters, any heater like that, the very best efficiency that you get from them is 100%. You get a conversion of electricity to heat via via sort of a radiant heater, you get virtually 100% transfer of that electricity. With a heat pump reverse cycle air conditioner, the coefficient of performance of 4.5 or greater is what you're looking for, and energy efficiency rating is the summer, the cooling factor. That should be 4.5 as well. Means that you, instead of getting 100%, you getting at least 450% efficiency, which seems like it's breaking the laws of physics. It's not. It's just concentrating the heat from one place and moving it to another.
Great. One more question about heating. In fact, actually, someone was really wanting to know about gas heating and cooking at home. They're thinking of updating and they're wondering whether they should go all electric. Could you comment on that, the option of changing from gas to electricity?
Gas is no longer the good flame. There's a problem with gas in that if there's just 1% fugitive emissions, and that's gas getting out of joints in pipes. You've probably smelt it yourself walking down the street. You smell a gas leak, and you report it. But if we had just 1% of fugitive emissions from gas, it makes gas as dirty, if not dirtier, than coal as an energy source, because over a 20-year period, gas has which is methane, fossil gas, which is methane, has an 84 times global warming potential than CO2, and over a 100-year period, it has a 20 times the global warming potential of CO2.
Thank you, John, for that really fascinating talk with so many different ideas about how we can improve our homes and make them cozier and more energy efficient and less polluting. So to all the people in our audience, I hope you've been inspired. Please do give us some feedback. If you go on to make some changes to your home, something small, something more substantial, we'd love you to send us a photograph of what you've done and a story describing how you did it to inspire other people to do that. And we can feature it on the stories on our website. So please have a look there on the website for the stories. And we hope to see you joining us again for another talk like this, or contributing your own ideas. Thank you. Bye-bye.